Hi everyone, Allie Janes here, and it's time for questions part 2. If you haven't seen part 1 already, click here. Now on to the questions. Questions with Allie. So many questions. A couple questions from Evil Kitty Ninja, cute name. What's the cutest nickname you've ever been given or ever given to someone? Well, I've been called Alice in Chains, like the band, a couple times, and I think that's pretty cute. As for nicknames that I've given, my pets get the worst of it. Their nicknames are continually evolving. Maxwell used to be called Booger because he has a brown little spot of fur right here. It's silly. That name evolved into Booger Face, Bugaboo, Buddy, Budster, you know. I had a dog once whose real name is Trumpkin, like from the Narnia Chronicles, and that evolved into Bumpkin, of course, which then led to Bump and Bumpy. And then I had a cat whose name was Poco, which led to Pookie, Poochness, Princess Pookie, and Pooty Face. You get the idea. Next from Evil Kitty Ninja, what's the strangest compliment you've ever received? I've had some real doozies. The problem is I can't remember any of them. Seriously, my brain is like a sieve. What was the question again? Oh, yes, nicknames. No, not nicknames. Compliments. Well, in a lot of my YouTube comments, people have commented often on my eyes, and many of those comments refer to my crazy eyes. I don't know about crazy, but I do know I have eyes, and sometimes they're a little bit expressive. Another from Evil Kitty Ninja. What country do you want to visit most? Well, there are 2. Fiji and Morocco top my list. An island paradise and the land of Casablanca. I really like the palm trees, beaches, blue water, and island culture of Fiji, and the food, architecture, and exotic culture of Morocco. When I was 12 and went to Epcot, I liked visiting their little country of Morocco the best. The native Moroccans who worked in their stores at Disney were always really nice to me, and they were cute. One more question from Evil Kitty Ninja, the most curious of YouTubers. If you didn't choose the path to become an actor, what career would you pick and why? Well, I pursued a career as a singer for a while, so I could see continuing along that path. I also run a vintage clothing company called Cheesecake Vintage. I'll put a link to the store below. Otherwise, I could see something like casting being interesting or working in a no-kill animal shelter. And a couple questions from Copycat. Can you really not cook or clean? Well, more accurately, I don't like to cook or clean. Parts of cleaning kind of gross me out to the point of gagging, so that makes me not so good at it. And I find cooking tedious and frustrating, which also makes me not so good at it. It makes me want to punch the kitchen. And I cannot handle touching raw meat. Gross, gross, gross. However, I am super good at baking because baking is awesome and the end result is dessert, which is fantastic and something I've mentioned more than once on this channel. And I'm also a fantastic organizer. Literally everything has its place in my apartment. Next, Copycat asks, names, names, names. Who was at that Christmas party? Was it anyone famous? And who is the most famous person you know? There was nobody famous at that Christmas party. It was all up-and-comers and behind-the-scenes people. But maybe someday I'll be able to say I had Christmas dinner with so-and-so. Or better yet, maybe somebody will be able to say that they had Christmas dinner with me. Most famous person I've met, still Ted Raimi, but I do have a lot of 6 degrees of separation connections, although those don't really count. The last question, also from Copycat. You obviously love Marilyn Monroe and the 1950s Hollywood look and feel. How did you end up loving this era? You've found me out. I do love the Hollywood era of the 1940s, 50s, even 30s. It's an era that's intrigued me for as long as I can remember. When I was a kid and I loved playing dress up, my grandmother gave me a bunch of her old 50s dresses to play with. That's probably what got me started. Then I fell in love with singing and thus musicals, and some of the best musicals ever made were those of MGM back in their heyday. Watching those led me to watch lots of old movies, even non-musicals. I really fell in love with the clothing and the hairstyles and the overall glamour of the times. It's something we don't really have anymore, so it stuck out to me. So to sum it all up, it's my grandmother's fault. Well, that's it for this edition of Questions with Allie. Thanks for asking your questions and watching me answer them. Do you guys have any weekend plans? Leave a comment or video response below and tell me all about them. Later, lovelies. Other than that, I can roll my tongue and touch my tongue to my nose. And I could do pretty good pin-up 1940s hairdos. Do you or someone you know have an original song, as in homemade, as in made from scratch, that you'd like me to sing? Contact me here and we'll see if your song is a good fit.